Welcome back to this week's episode of the Campfire Series podcast. Happy holidays to everybody. I am your host, Logan Soforenko. We have another awesome interview today. We are so thankful for not only the reception with our fans, but the reception in the Broadway community and in the performing community. Broadway veteran and teacher. Welcome, Marjorie Failoni.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Failoni, and I am a New York City-based performer and choreographer. A little bit about me: born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I have my BFA in musical theater from the University of Michigan. Go Blue! My first big tour and job was Disney's High School Musical. I was the dance captain and swing on that national tour. I've done the national tour of Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. I've worked regionally across the country at a lot of the regional theaters across the US. I did the out-of-town tryout of Escape to Margaritaville in La Jolla and did the pre-Broadway tour and was fortunate enough to make my Broadway debut in that show here in New York City. Woohoo! And I'm also on the faculty of Broadway Dance Center. So I love that I get to teach and choreograph and stay artistically fulfilled while not performing.
So before we talk about Margaritaville, because I'm very curious, great fun show. Unfortunately, I would be able to get the beach ball that you guys throw at the end of the show, but we were using it for a game of kickball, and we kicked it into a bunch of bougainvillea plants. So it's deflated now, but I still have it. But with that being said, you went to the University of Michigan. Michigan is a very big powerhouse musical theater college. At least now it is. I'm sure it was when you went there as well. Walk me through, so you're a student in high school and you're auditioning for these musical theater programs. Tell me a little bit about the process and where else you applied. And just, obviously, I don't want to assume you were rejected from some schools, but I feel like everybody gets told no in their career. But walk me through your audition process for college.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't envy anyone that is going through that process right now. It is extremely difficult, and especially for what we do as performers, it's so specialized, and it is hard because it's not personal, but it feels personal because it's us. Our performance is us as humans. But I actually applied to a lot of schools. I think 10 was my final number. Some people apply to 3. I got carried away and didn't know where I was going to get into, but knew I wanted to do theater or dance of some sort. And I was going to make that happen, somehow. I was fortunate in St. Louis. We have a huge theater scene in St. Louis. And so I had a lot of friends that were older than me who I had kind of watched go through the college process and could kind of see where they were applying, where people were getting accepted. And so my mom and I really kind of used that information and asked them a lot of questions as a resource of, what the tiers of all those programs are. There are considered more selective schools that are not as selective. And so I applied to kind of a wide array of musical theater programs, but I also applied to a couple dance programs as well, because being primarily a dancer who does sing and act, maybe I thought that was my route. Like I applied to Oklahoma City University, which has a very well-known musical theater dance program, and Marymount Manhattan here in the city that has a very well-known dance program where I could minor in musical theater. So I kind of, played the odds a little bit with different schools, and none were really close to St. Louis, which was fine. And my parents were cool with that. But I did, I was very fortunate enough to get into Michigan. And for me, that was so exciting. I knew from the moment that I had met Mr. Wagner, who was the chair of the department at the time, and toured the campus before I even applied, that I would be very happy there, that it felt like kind of where I was meant to be, a school I would enjoy to go to. I applied to Boston Conservatory and I got in there as well. And that was ultimately, for me, kind of the decision of BOCO or Michigan. But like I didn't get into CCM, which is also a well-known program kind of in line with those schools. Which is hard because you have friends then that get into CCM and Carnegie Mellon that don't get into Michigan. And, every school and every faculty member who's on those committees, they're just looking for something. They're trying to find a well-rounded class of students and humans too, not just performers, but I also think it's important for us to remember that we are humans and we bring our own personalities to the business as well. And I actually feel very lucky that I got into Michigan, and I knew kind of from that moment forward. I found out pretty early in my process in like February, and I kind of then, once I knew I was in, I kind of made the decision that I was going there. And I loved my time there. I really do. But it was also, that audition process is very different now. There were no pre-screens at the time. I know. Now every school has some sort of pre-screen with it, videotape. So I didn't have to do that. But, Michigan is a school where you have to be accepted into the university before you can actually get your audition for the musical theater or any program really there. So, that was kind of our hurdle, was academically, can you get into the university? And then here's your audition date. So I went and auditioned on campus at Michigan, and a couple other places on campus, but then I did do unifieds in Chicago, to kind of do a couple schools in a couple days to do that. But I had a great time at Michigan. It was a wonderful 4 years, where my senior year I wasn't really there. I'll go into that. I booked High School Musical at the end of my junior year of college. And I am that story where you might be auditioning for one thing and you're not right for that, but that same casting director and choreographer like you enough that they bring you in for another project. So as you are in college, we do the rounds of auditioning for summer stocks, whether it's a Unifieds, an SETC, the Muni, Pittsburgh CLO. You make those journeys as college students to get that coveted summer stock work. So as always, we packed up the van and drove to CLO for those audition weekends in person. And CLO had announced that High School Musical was part of their season. So the director, Jeff Calhoun, and choreographer Lisa Stevens was there. And we went through, the CLO auditions, where we do a combination from every show. If you make it through the cuts, then you stay and sing. So I made it through all those cuts of CLO. And I was like, yes, I'm going to book CLO. This is great. I'm going to have a summer job. And, we get back to Michigan, and sure enough, I did not book the CLO season that summer. Calls go out. And at the end of April, I got a message from Justin Huff, who was a casting agent with Telsey. And it was like, hi, so the director of the High School Musical National Tour saw you audition. We'd like to bring you in for final callbacks in New York City on these dates. And I was like, what? I didn't put it two and two together. It took me a while to realize that it was from those CLO auditions that they kept people they were interested in. And so it just kind of was one of those things that worked out. Classes ended on a Tuesday. I flew out Tuesday night. Callbacks in the city were Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I flew back to Michigan on Saturday. Finals were the next week and a half or 2 weeks. And by the end of finals, I knew I was going to be the dance captain swing on the first national tour of Disney's High School Musical, which was crazy. But I immediately set up a meeting with Mr. Wagner, the chair of our department, and we chatted about what my options were. Do I take this job? Do I continue in school? And I did both. So I did my senior year kind of remotely via the national tour, which was very hard. I don't know if I would recommend that. It was hard. I took first semester completely off, and then second semester, on every Monday off between cities, I flew into Michigan to have a voice lesson, to turn in papers. I was doing a theater history class, turning in papers and keeping up with the syllabus. I took 3 weeks off, 2 weeks off. I don't know. I took some time off in April at the end of tour to be able to do finals, graduate and walk with my class, and do showcase with my class, which, as everyone knows, is so important in our college journeys for New York. And then went back on the road till we closed that next August. It was crazy, but I'm also very thankful that I finished my degree and I made it happen, and that I have it too. And I was in a place academically and credit-wise that I could make that happen.
What a college journey. I think you hit it on the head when you said those 5 words, keeping up with the syllabus. Boy, is that relevant now for us college students. And like you said, you said you worked remotely. I'm sure it was a little more stressful than us now. But um yeah, I think when you apply for a college program, it's all about what they're looking for. I had a buddy that got into Juilliard but didn't get into Texas State, and got into CCM but didn't get into Michigan. So
Hmm.
it's crazy like that. Now, you got to work with Jeff Calhoun, pretty good director.
Yeah.
Walk me through just a little bit about the High School Musical like journey. Obviously, you said how you were kind of balancing that out, but the actual show, it's an iconic movie, and I feel like people are gonna walk in and immediately compare it. But what were your expectations going into the show, and then versus how it actually like played out and how fun it was?
I think what I loved about what they did with the stage version of High School Musical is they kept those elements that are so iconic and so classic for those that fell in love with the Disney Channel movie. And then they just enhanced it with those theater elements because they could, because it is about ultimately a theater audition, you know? And so they really tried to keep both worlds available, keep it relevant for those kids and parents that knew the movie, but maybe bring something new to someone who maybe isn't as familiar with it and maybe won't understand all of the inside jokes. And I think they also did a good job in making sure that the adults had entertainment as well. It wasn't just a glorified kids show. It was relevant to anyone that walked in that theater. I didn't really know what to expect when I walked in. I'm going to be honest. I was super familiar with the movie, obviously, and I had actually earlier. So we started that tour in spring of 2007. In the fall of 2006, there is a high school in Ann Arbor, where Michigan is, called Pioneer High School, and they did the a very early licensed stage version production of it, even before the tour, and I choreographed that show. So I was very familiar with the material, thank goodness. But they had the show actually had done an out of town tryout at Atlanta Theater of the Stars in January, February, and it was such a big hit that that's when they decided to launch the national tour immediately. So I joined them kind of after the world premiere, but they were still making changes and new sets, new costumes, and everything. So it did feel very much still on the ground level. But I just didn't know what to expect. I had never worked on something of that large scale. And, Jeff is really amazing. And Lisa Stevens, who is our choreographer, was amazing. They're just from that world of best idea wins. So in the room, it was very collaborative between the director and those of us in the show to really just make the best show that we could. And I think we really achieved that. And what I loved touring with a show like that is we brought in a whole new generation and a new audience of theater lovers into live theater, and really got to rekindle that love for live theater for a lot of people, or introduce it to them for the first time. I have, because I was a dance captain in a swing, I was in the show quite a bit. It was a very physically demanding show, but usually on opening nights in a city, I wasn't. And I was out in the audience taking notes and making sure everything was going okay. But I will never forget, we were in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I had my like backstage pass on, and I was sitting in the back of the house, and this mom and her kid walked up to me at intermission and was like, "Excuse me, are you with the show?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And she was like, "That's not how the movie ended. Do we come back like another night or something?" And they just had never been seeing a live theater show before. And I was like, "No, it's intermission. Go get some popcorn and a soda. Come back in about 10 minutes. And I promise you're going to get everything that you want from this show." But I loved that we just got to bring so many new families into a theater to experience what I think most of us love so much, is that live theater experience.
My favorite thing in the world is I brought a buddy of mine to see the national tour of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he was a sports guy. And right at intermission, he goes, is it halftime right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, close enough. Yeah, I got you. Like, you're on the right track." But yeah, it's so totally fun seeing the different kind of faces that come into theater, and congrats on being able to like share that with that kind of project. Now, I want to hear a little bit more about Escape to Margaritaville, specifically when you were in New York, because a while back I talked to a former cast member of the your production, and he said that the New York crowd sometimes can be a little tough. And with that kind of show, people are coming in and expecting, a big like Broadway style musical, but it's supposed to be, fun and awesome. And, I think that the story does move a little bit of a part inside you didn't really know was there. Like I didn't know, like I was like, I'm underage, of course, but I was like, oh, when I saw it, I want to have a margarita right now and just like rock out and have fun. And there's some good dancing in the show, and it's a really fun time. So tell me a little bit about your journey when you were on the Broadway production, but also it was in the theater that is in a hotel, the Marquee Theater, and me staying at the Marquee a few times and seeing shows there, it's a very different feel and it's a unique feel. So tell me a little bit about your journey with the New York production.
It is. It is. So it's exactly what you were saying. Just playing the marquee in general is just a different Broadway theater experience because it is in a hotel. It's not that quintessential under the lights marquee where you walk in and then you're immediately in the theater. You go into a hotel lobby, you go up the escalators, and then you're at theater level, so that in itself is just a different type of experience. I had a great time with the show. And just like you said, we just wanted to make people smile and have a good time and forget about life for 2 hours and enjoy it. And it is hard, there's two types of theater. There's theater that is meant to be thought provoking and make you really feel something or say something political or say something with such a large statement. And then there's theater that you just want to forget about life and have a good time. And I think we couldn't quite find our audience within that. I think a lot of people were coming in expecting to be, this is New York theater, we want to be moved, and it's going to be Shakespeare, and we were just like, we're just having a good time and want to sing some Jimmy Buffett songs and think of this like Mamma Mia, and it was hard to kind of overcome that. And as someone who did the original La Jolla production as well, it was a very different experience. In La Jolla, the audiences were nuts for us. We had sold out crowds. We extended 2 or 3 times in our run. It was very chill and laid back, and everyone came in just with that expectation. And then moving to even on tour and then moving to New York, it's a different theater crowd, and they did come in sort of expecting a little more substance, I think. I don't know if that's the right word though either. And it is, and we got judged harshly for it. And critics are rough sometimes. But at the same time, it was an amazing experience, and honestly, one of the best cast experiences I've ever experienced. We were extremely close as a cast and still are. We still have, we closed 2 years ago and still have a cast text thread that if it's someone's birthday or someone is opening a show somewhere, it blows up immediately. And there's something to be said for that. We really did create a family through all of that. And we had a great time, and it was a great experience, but we didn't quite find our audience, I think.
You said it, critics are rough, and you said that it takes 2 hours, to forget life and have some fun in the theater. That cannot be even more true than it is right now, because Margaritaville was the last show that I saw before the shutdown. I saw the tour
Mm-hmm.
in Hollywood, and I thought it was really fun. And I think that you have to have, for audience members out there, they have to have an open mind with every single show that they go to. Not every show is going to be wicked. Like here's my thing. My friends who saw Dear Evan Hansen, they thought it was going to be this fluffy musical because they saw it on the Tonys and they thought the album was good. But like, no, it's a sad show. So
Yeah.
you if you go in with expectations, I don't think you're going to have the time that you're supposed to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you're friends in the show, you're like, oh, I know this kid. He went to high school with me. He's amazing.
Absolutely. And there have been many times I've walked to in a theater and I'm going to be like, yes, I'm so pumped and jammed to see this show. Everyone says it's amazing and yeah, let's do it. And I've left and been like, oh, that was okay. Maybe it wasn't my thing, but like I appreciate everything that happened. And there have been shows that I was like, oh, I'm not super excited to see this, but I'm going to go. I'm going to support my friends, and left and had a great time. So you just don't know and what to expect. And I think it's great to walk into a show with no expectations and be like, I could love this, I could not like this, but also to appreciate for what it is, and also know how hard everyone worked just to get to that point. Because I also think that even if you don't like something, there is an appreciation for what is up there and doing that hard work.
I mean, they always say it was 5 o'clock somewhere, and I saw the show at 8 p.m. Pacific time means it's 5 o'clock in Hawaii. So there you go.
That's
But
right.
I certainly love the show, and I wish I could see it again. And for some reason, that company, I mean, it wasn't the same company as yours because it's the touring company, but they were so appreciative because they were the first musical that played at the Dolby Theater where the Oscars are. And no musicals usually play there. They always play at the Pantages, but this year
Yep.
they split it. But congratulations on a great run there. You got to work with another cool director, one of my favorite directors, because I love Come From Away. You got to work with Christopher Ashley. Uh, what was that like? You know, he's coming off a Tony win and now directing this show. And I would assume that he was kind of been working on both at the same time. But with that being said, what was it like working with that kind of director and that kind of creative team? And obviously,
Uh,
freaking Jimmy Buffett.
yeah, I loved working with Chris Ashley and Kelly Devine, and they work really well together as a team. They are the team from Come From Away, and they've done a bunch of other musicals together. And it's I really enjoyed working with a team like that had such a rapport with each other and could work so seamlessly together. You know, obviously everyone has their opinions and everything, but working with Chris was great. And we were in La Jolla watching the Tonys after our Sunday matinee, and here's our director winning a Tony Award for Come From Away, and so deserved. That Come From Away is probably one of my favorite pieces of theater in a very long time. And it's cool. And then you walk in the rehearsal room later and you're like, you're a Tony Award winner. Cool. And you try not to let that affect anything. But, sometimes you have those moments, and I still have them, where I'm in a room with certain people and I'm like, this is really happening. Okay, cool. You put your little like inner fangirl away for a second and you're like, we're here to work. Let's do it, but he's lovely to work with. I had a great time working with him. He's so smart. He's collaborative. And I think collaboration is so important in our industry. And so it was really, really great working with both Chris and Kelly, and that team, they're so smart and brilliant at what they do.
Boy, are they! Congrats on being able to work with them and on some awesome stories. And we got a couple more topics I want to talk
Yeah.
about before we wrap up. I want to hear about your teaching right now, and then obviously give us some advice. So first, your teaching in this format. It's pretty awesome that you're able to deliver the arts. And I say this in the most non-creepy way possible, that I always stalk my guests, like to, just to get a little background. LaDuca Shoes follows you. So obviously people like what you do, and, you constantly repost other people's, choreography that they learn from your classes. So what has teaching been like for you in this kind of format in a pandemic, but also just seeing the impact you have on performers?
It's been a blessing during this time, because it gets me going, it gets me up, it gets me motivated, and it's been keeping me creative in, a different way, than I was probably used to in just the audition hustle. And I feel fortunate that I've been teaching at Broadway Dance Center for many years, and sort of had a following there in that regards. But, as soon as the shutdown happened here in New York, March 12th, that lovely day, that no one will forget, when Broadway shut down. Broadway Dance Center closed their doors just about 3 days later on Monday, they announced. And I had a couple students that reached out to me and said, would you still be interested in teaching class? My normal class time at that time was Tuesday mornings. And I said, I mean, sure. I had never done an Instagram Live or anything like that. And so I started doing Instagram Live classes that I thought would just be for my students who normally come take my class at Broadway Dance Center. And it opened up a whole new group of people across the world that started taking my class. And we started just weekly having something to do, having a goal once everything was shut down. And I had adults, I had high schoolers, I had college students, I had professionals like myself who just were wanting to stay motivated at that time. And it's been really a blessing to continue to connect with them. And I'm also thankful for Broadway Dance Center that has created a safe environment for us now as faculty members. We are able to go in studio at Broadway Dance Center to be able to live stream our classes out. To give a slightly more enhanced, better experience than just, living rooms. But I also still teach a bunch of Zoom classes via my living room in my house, and that has its own challenges. But I never leave a Zoom class or a virtual class wishing that I hadn't done it either, and I'm so thankful for the students that, as much as they keep saying I motivate them in class to keep training and to keep working hard, they very much motivate me to do the same thing. And it's been wonderful and a great way to still connect with students, connect with artists, and continue to support each other. Something I always say in my class is we are still a community, even though we are by ourselves in a room, in a living room, outside, wherever we are in our bedroom taking class. You chose to be here and we are still a community. Watch your fellow dancers, learn from them, continue to support them. And then when we can all be in class together again, then it's just there. It's naturally there. But it is, it's also opened a new market. I have students now in London and Italy and Australia. And so because now we're in this virtual world, it's a wider reach. And I love that we can all support each other. And most of us teachers and faculty are also supporting each other, trying to comment on videos and help support and help share, because that's what it is. And we're just trying to keep some sort of artist community alive and find that motivation to keep going.
Well, I think finding that way to keep the artist community going and together is a perfect way of putting it. Back before my show was shut down, we did a Zoom rehearsal, and through boredom at the beginning of quarantine, we built theaters in Broadway theaters in the game of Minecraft, and we literally ran the blocking as if we were, in person and we were
Yeah.
doing it online. And it's just you get creative with these ways. You said it. I mean, through this virtual platform, it's a wider range, and there's weird things to be thankful for when it comes to that. But I would never ever say
Yeah.
I'm thankful for this shutdown. But I'm sure there's
No, but never in a million years did I think I would be directing and conceiving, dance videos in that medium either,
right.
and like learning on my feet. And, I did a tap piece for the Muni Variety Hour this summer, and just
Hmm.
the editing and the directing within that. And, a whole new world for all of us too, to kind of figure out how to keep it going. And, a lot of tech learning, but we're getting there. It's all good. But we're making it happen, and that's important.
Heck yeah, we are. Well, right before we wrap up, I want to hear some last advice for performers. I know that obviously there's advice you probably give to a bunch of people that would be the same. However, we're heading into a new world of auditioning in theater because we don't know the future of theater. So, what's some advice you can lay for us?
Keep training. If you it's keep up the skills, keep the love and the passion alive within your training, make sure that you really want it. I've had my moments too where I've gone weeks or months and been like, I'm not doing a voice lesson because I just don't feel like it. But come back to why we like it, what we love about live theater, and keep reminding yourself of that, so that when it does happen, and when we get that green light, which hopefully is soonish, you're ready to go. You know what I mean? You don't want to start to get ready once the green light's gone and you have 2 weeks to get yourself in shape for an audition or college classes or a show that's going to happen. Do it now. You know what I mean? Make sure you're taking care of yourselves. You're keeping up with classes, and keeping that fire lit within you about the industry and what moves you, and the fire that I can't talk. The fire that makes you want to be in this industry. You know what I mean? And what keeps me in the industry right now, it's my students that motivates me of like, yes, I'm still in this. I, yes, still want to perform. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's work it out. You know what I mean? Whatever that is, whomever that's with, even if it's just chatting with friends once a week being like, oh, did you see this clip, or this artist put out this video? That's so awesome, because there's a lot of cool art that's also being created during this time. So use that to your advantage. Continue to train, continue to take care of yourselves, and remember the reason why you want to do it to begin with, because that is the most important thing that we can always do, is why we are here, what we love about the arts.
Whether that be about the arts, or maybe you want to be a manager at an In-N-Out Burger or a
Yeah.
Walmart. If you remember why you're doing it. I think that's a perfect way of putting it. And with that being said, we're just about done here. I wish I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I really do, because through the virtual world, I've been able to meet this great community as we're living in the pandemic. As we hear the dogs bark behind me, I hope that you really find a new, not a new path, but you continue what you're doing, and take what has been happening these past couple of months, and the skills you're learning and what's working and what's not, and use it to your benefit in your career once we do get that green light.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for this new, to see what our industry is, how we come from it. And I think we will, we always do. And it's going to be exciting, that I think, for the new projects that are going to come out of this, and the change and the drive that everyone's going to have once we get that green light to go. I think it's going to be so exciting. And I'm really excited for that.
We love to hear that. So many people are going to have that drive. It's going to be that much more competitive. No, I'm totally kidding. But I'm
I
totally
mean,
kidding.
yes and no, but
Well,
like,
yeah,
but yes.
you can't avoid that, because a lot of people were out of work, and a lot of
Mhm.
shows got shut down, and a lot of people are eager, but it's nevertheless it's still that community, and I think that we're going to be stronger than ever
Agreed.
before. And
Agreed.
with that being said, the lights are up. I have to say happy holidays. I hope that you have
Yes, thank you.
you're in New York. I hope you're safe out there.
I'm in New York. Yes.
Both of us
Thank
are in
you.
some, not, I wouldn't say hot spots, but have been kind of the center of the pandemic right now. But
Yep.
uh this will be dropping on next week, and
Fantastic.
it's gonna be a good time, and I hope you stay safe. And once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. My pleasure. Anytime. This was great.
Totally nice meeting you as well. Now kick back and enjoy, and have fun in your classes.
Sounds good. Have a good day.
You as well.
Thanks.
Bye
Bye.
bye.